Okay, here we go. So good morning, welcome as we continue in Proverbs. I've been reading one every day. Actually, I've been reading all 7 through the week to prepare for today. And as you see, as we said before, it's all about wisdom and making right choices in our life. And how that the book of Proverbs is not like a story, and it doesn't have just regular characters in it, but it's like a father telling his son how to live and right things to do, and how we as believers need to follow these same teachings and these good things that he's taught to us. So now we're going to continue, and we're going to take a look at chapter 3. Before we begin, did anybody have any particular questions about anything before we start? Okay. Yeah, Cheryl? Yeah. Right hand. Good. Okay, about the right hand and the left hand. What verse is it? 3. What verse? 3. What verse? 16. Okay. All right. Well, we'll get there in a moment. And when we get there, we'll talk about it then. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions or things that we want to look at for sure? Okay. Well, then let's begin. Chapter 3 of Proverbs. And remember that we're reading one every day. And of course, Saturday morning, we come together. This talks about the power of wisdom in chapter 3. And it talks, it's teaching about God as the Father, and it's a father talking to his son. The thing in here is favor. It's how wisdom brings us favor in our life. And we'll look at some of these strong verses are 5, 6, 26, and then 13, 14 talks about our wealth, how it comes from wisdom also. So we'll look at those things. He says, he's always talking to his son. Solomon was always thought to be the richest man in the world and the wisest man that ever lived. And so now he's trying to teach his son the things of life. So he's talking to his son and tells him, don't forget the laws and the things in your heart and the commandments. He said, they will give you long days. In other words, we will have long life the more that we practice wisdom. And tells us to trust in the Lord with all of our heart. We hear this verse a lot. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. Trust what God tells us. And it says, in all our ways, acknowledge him, and that his way is right, and he will lead our paths. Don't be wise in your own self. We think we're so smart sometimes, but are we smart in the way that the Lord teaches us, or just smart in our own thinking? So it tells us to fear the Lord and leave evil. It doesn't mean to be afraid. but it means we have a fear of the Lord because we know and understand his wisdom and the things that he teaches us. We honor the Lord, and it's our wealth. And it says with the first of everything. We think that tithing means our money, and yes, it does. But he also teaches us to give him from the first. In the older days, they didn't have a lot of money, but they would trade like their sheep and their harvesting, the things that they would grow. And that was their first things. They said to always give a tenth of, give your first always to the Lord. And then he tells his son, don't hate when the father corrects you. Okay. Remember, we don't receive necessarily punishment from the Lord, but he will correct us and he will show us the right way. And don't hate that, accept it. You know, we need to just love the Lord and know that he loves us. And like any good father, he's going to correct us. He's going to keep us from touching the hot stove or crossing the street with cars. You know, he's going to protect us and keep us. He loves us. And so people who just need to love the Lord and his correction. We need to love the correction just as much as we love his giving and blessing. And then it says, blessed is the person who finds the wisdom, who gets the understanding, and they get it. It's more precious than all of our jewels. So know that wisdom. Remember, we said last week that we start with knowledge, then we apply the understanding, and then after we know it and understand it, it grows into wisdom. Okay. Whoops. I didn't have 16 on here. Sorry. Let me go back and we'll look at 16. Let me get it here. It's talking here about wisdom. It says, in the right hand of wisdom, we are given light. And then in the left hand of wisdom, we get riches and honor. So it's talking about wisdom gives us this and this. Wisdom gives us all these things. Okay? Do you understand that now? Okay. And how that wisdom is the guide for everything in life. And it brings us to this verse here on 20. It says, by his knowledge, everything is understood. Basically, it says, well, the depths were broken up and the clouds were dropped down. In other words, through the knowledge of wisdom, God created. Okay. He made the heavens. He made the dew, all of that. God and wisdom was right there with God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. They worked in wisdom. And he said, my son, don't leave your eyes, the things that you see around you, and the wisdom and our decisions and all of that. Leave it with the Lord and trust in God's wisdom. If God was wise enough to create all the earth, then he's wise enough to lead me in life. Okay. And when you go to sleep at night, you don't need to be afraid. You know, you don't need to be afraid. Okay, the car is coming to get me. Can't sleep. You know, don't need to worry. You can lie down and sleep. Your sleep will be sweet. Don't be afraid of fear. Things will happen and they make us, we feel fear, but also know that God is with us and he will destroy the wickedness that comes against us, because the Lord is your assurance. If you are sure in the Lord and trust him, then he will keep your foot from being stolen by the enemy. He'll keep you. Don't keep anything that's good from the people that need it. God gives us everything good, okay? And everything that you have, that you can help another person and be good to another person, don't keep it for yourself. If you can do good for another person, then help them, okay? That's what this is saying here. Don't keep all the good. Maybe you raise apples and you have a whole lot of apples. You'll never eat them all. Don't let them rot. Give it to another person, okay? Because the Lord is your confidence, your assurance in everything. He curses the house of the wicked, the evil people. God doesn't like it, and he will put curses on them, okay? But he will bless the home of the righteous. So if we continue in our righteousness and belief in God, he will bless our house. Y'all understand that? He's going to give you blessings just because you said, yes, I believe in Jesus and want to follow Jesus. Yes. The wise will receive honor. But what happens to the foolish ones?
Shame.
They get shame and embarrassment. Okay. And that's the most of what chapter 3 is about, teaching us that we receive the good, the blessings from God if we follow. But if we are foolish and follow Satan, then it's not always so good. Okay. Okay, did that answer your question? Sure. Okay. Any other questions there? Okay, let me get rid of that one. And I will move to, come on. Well, there, that's what I mean. What? Okay, come on. Okay. Chapter 4. Okay. Here we go again. And this one is talking about studying for true wisdom. And again, it's God, Solomon, and his son. And the word here is wisdom. You remember last week we said that I said that I had the teacher that told me if they said something 3 times, we knew it would be on a test. Well, you will notice that through this book, many things are said again and again and again. So that means they are important. And maybe we will have a test, but we need to see and know how to take care of these things. So verse 5 is a key verse here. But these are talking about how the Christian walks in the light of God, which is Christ. And, you know, when we studied Revelation, we saw how, you know, Christ he's just the light of everything. And when we walk in that light, then we have that light ourselves. And we're guided by the Bible, that is the light to our feet. Okay. And again, he says, listen, my sons. In other words, pay attention to the Father's instruction and get your understanding. He says, my Father taught me to pay attention to what I say. Did you ever hear a parent say, pay attention, pay attention? That's what he's saying here. Pay attention, obey the commandments, and you will have good life. God's wisdom will give us understanding and protection. And when we get wisdom, we get the understanding. And he tells us, don't forget that his words need to be remembered. And that's why we say, you know, sometimes we need to memorize the Bible verse, and we put it in our heart and in our mind. We keep it. Don't forget the words. And sometimes when you're talking to some person, you maybe won't remember, I read that, but where is it? You maybe won't remember where, but the Holy Spirit will bring back to you the words that you read and understand to share with another person. Don't forsake the wisdom. Okay. Getting wisdom is the best thing that you can ever do. Ever. Get wisdom. Be wise. And how do we do that? We have to know and study the wise people of the Bible. Solomon, what he's teaching is here. But mostly, we need to follow everything that God says, because he's the wisest ever. Wisdom is the best thing. So therefore, get wisdom. All right. Now, when you get your wisdom, it says it will make you great. And it says that they will honor you. What it means is wisdom will honor you. Not necessarily people, but wisdom will honor you and will make you great. Also, the Bible says that Jesus called himself wisdom. Jesus said, I am wisdom. And so here it tells us that wisdom will make us great, and it will embrace us, honor us, and they'll put a beautiful crown on our head. And this is, remember, as we said in Revelation, you know, we will go to heaven and we are given crowns. And it says that wisdom will be one of the reasons that we get these beautiful crowns in heaven. God gives us the direction. And so through these 10 through 19 is God telling us which way to go. And he says, listen, the years of your life will be many. Again, he's saying that we will long life if we practice the wisdom. He teaches us wisdom, leads us in the path when we walk. If you walk, if you run, you won't fall because you're holding the hand of wisdom will teach you, okay? And he'll protect you. Wisdom is the key to your life. Don't follow the path of the wicked, okay? Because if you walk with the evil, it'll be a wrong road. So turn away from it. and they can't sleep because they're just waiting for the next evil, and they can't sleep. And they eat wickedness and badness, and they drink wine of, they just want trouble, trouble, trouble all the time. If you watch on the TV any day now, you see where some person gets violent, gets crazy, okay? They're not following wisdom. The path of the righteous, it's like the morning sun. You know, when the sun first, you know, you first see that little, you first see that sun coming up, it's a little bit light, and then the more it gets higher in the sky, you know, more and more light. And that's the way wisdom is for us. It helps us. It gives us a little bit of light, and then it grows, it grows, it grows. But the evil, they walk in darkness. So pay attention again. He says, pay attention to what I say. Listen to the words, and put them in your heart, because it'll give you life and health from the wisdom. It says to keep your heart, it's like a spring of life. When we have that wisdom in our heart, then we have, it will spring up and give us strong life, okay? Protect your heart from the evil things, because what you do comes from your heart. What you are thinking, your mind and your heart, that's what you do in life. Let your eyes look, again, straight ahead. Because if you turn your eyes, what happens? You go off, okay? So keep your eyes focused on the Lord. Your paths, where do you walk? Walk in the way the Lord leads you. Straight ahead. Don't let your feet follow evil. Okay, and that's chapter 4. Any questions there? Anybody? Okay. Okay, chapter 5. We continue on. So you're seeing that it's all about wisdom in various things. The choices that we make in life, the paths, the ways that we follow, all depends on our wisdom. Do we follow God's word in our choices? Okay, here he's giving you warning against the whore. He says this again and again. He's telling his son to be careful, careful. Don't go there. Don't go there. Okay. And he says it again here. Again, it's God with Solomon talking to his son. And the strange woman is in this chapter. And it talks about adultery. Is that the right sign? Adultery? Yeah, adultery. And various things there, and the things going on in our hearts, and that how our actions will bring us to judgment. Again, he says, my son, pay attention to wisdom, let you hear the understanding, use your decision making, right? And keep your knowledge. The lips, that woman who tries to get you and pull you in. Now remember, he's talking to his son, but it can happen to the woman also. Some man will pull you in with his lips, okay? Or you are maybe that woman. Not you particularly, but but the female can be that, you can be that woman. And it tells us what happens when you are like that. It says that her steps take you to the grave. If you follow that woman, you will not live. Okay? So a wise man hears. If not, you'll end up in death. He says, my son, listen to me. Don't leave these words from my mouth. Keep your way far away from that woman. Don't go close to her door. Okay? If you do, you lose your honor. You lose your mercy for other people, and everything that you've got, you will lose it. Others will enjoy what would have been your blessing, you will lose, okay? And in the end, you'll be sorry. But sorry, it's too late. Okay? You will be consumed in your body with just feelings and emotions and various things, okay? Now, some people will say, I hate being taught. I don't like, tell me what to do. You don't obey the voice of your teachers. You don't listen to your parents. I hate telling me what to do, okay? You don't listen to them. Get you into trouble. You'll say, why didn't I listen? Later we say, why didn't I listen to my parents, to my teachers, to what God's telling me in the word? You know, I didn't want to be disciplined. I refused correction. So now I suffer. Every kind of trouble comes to you. And all people around you know it also. Okay? Also, it tells us to drink from the water of your own and the water from your own well. In other words, if you put wisdom into your heart, into your mind, that's what will come out of you. That's what you will drink. So take it in. Let the fountains and your rivers flow so that other people will know and understand. Be blessed, rejoice with the wife of your youth. In other words, he's telling his son, if you're young and you get married, you stay with that wife. Don't go trying to find something else, okay? You look at that and you think, oh, that looks good over here. So you leave your wife and you go over there and I'll try this. But don't let that happen to you. It says, why will you, my son, take that strange woman and embrace her in the bosom of a strange person? Why? Why? And it says, a man's ways, he looks and he sees things he wants to go to. But God's eyes are seeing everything we do. So if we choose to follow that strange woman, God knows, he sees it all. Wisdom knows. And he thinks about our path. So our ways in life, God sees it all and knows it all, every bit. And he examines, where is she now? Where is she going? Oh, okay. Oh, good. She's following wisdom. Good. So the Lord is watching us. Nothing is hidden from God. Evil will just chain us up. Our own sins will put us in locks because we don't have discipline, we can actually die with those chains of sin. But the Holy Spirit will show us. We need to just follow it, because our own sins will tie us up and evil will control us. Just like the puppet, the devil takes a hold of us and controls everything that we're doing, okay? But we will die without the instruction. And in the foolishness, we will just fail, fall, go astray. Boundaries, they're not to just to punish us, but boundaries are to protect us, to protect our life, and not to limit our pleasures. Okay, so that's what the boundaries do. So that's chapter 5. Stay away from that strange woman. Don't be that strange woman. And don't let any man lead you away. Okay? All right, so that's 5. Any particular questions there? Okay. All right, so again, we're seeing that he's telling his son how to live. It's all about wisdom. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. It's a new word for all of us. Again, he says, my son, pay attention to my wisdom. Let your ear hear the understanding. So you see, again and again and again, he's telling them to pay attention to wisdom. So that means we need to pay attention to wisdom, to hear it, to understand it. And that's what we get from Proverbs. We get wisdom, we get understanding, we get knowledge, all of that. Okay. Now this one is about money. Co-sign. And he tells his son, don't sign money with any other person. He said, you shake your hands with a stranger. You get caught in your own words. You need to free yourself, humble yourself with your neighbor and go to them and tell them, I signed with you, but I should not do that. So I need to remove my name as quickly as possible. And it tells him to escape like the gazelle, that's the deer. So if a hunter is coming, the deer will run away. That's how we need to be with supporting other people in monies. Like a bird, fly away. Okay. Now you wonder, well, how can I do that sometimes? We're going to talk about that here. Money things that are taught in Proverbs. The one who lends the money, even if it's a family member, a neighbor, but once you lend them money, you become a stranger. The friend that you sign with, they will catch you up. You know, in the end, often they're not a friend anymore. And you know, it says to humble yourself. Okay. And to be sure of your friend, you know, it's just a hard thing to do because we want to help people when we can. But oftentimes something will come up quickly, suddenly. But the best way to fix the problem is to never sign, co-sign. Okay. Now, the thing to remember is it's better if you have it and feel like you want to, just give it to them. Or if you do co-sign, don't do it if you can't do without that yourself. In other words, if you have money for a loan, you can give it to them. That's better than to co-sign. But if you co-sign and they can't pay it, then don't do it if you can't live without that money or whatever you co-sign for. And that's what the Bible teaches us. Okay? It tells us not to co-sign. Now, how should we live our life? The ant, it says, go to the ant. So instead of go to the ant, you sluggard. Do you know what sluggard is? It's lazy. Think about your ways and be wise. That ant, we've got to think, how does an ant live? And God tells us to be like an ant? What's that about? Okay, the sluggard is meaning lazy. The ant, they have no leader, no boss. Okay, they're just born and they know what to do. They collect their food. They keep it for the harvest, for the winter time. But it's hard to beat a person that never gives up. And an ant never quits, never stops. He works always, all right? There's different kinds of ants. There's the queen, she's the mother of all. And then there's the worker, and then there's the male. Guess who? Guess who the workers are? The females. The females do all the work. It's the same with bees. The females do all the work. They build the nest, they gather the food, they feed the others. The queen, her responsibility is to have the babies. And the male only responsibility is to have the babies. Okay, and there's so many different kinds of ants, but they all work and have the same kind of movement in life. Now, some interesting things about the ant, okay? They can lift 50 times their weight. They carry a big weight. They breathe through holes, just like we do with our nose. They collect food by following the smell. And you know what? They like the same things that we like. That's why they come to your picnic, okay? And they also will, they'll barter with other ants, and they're all over the world. It says that they were here when the dinosaurs were here. In other words, they were here when God first created the world, okay? There's 1 million ants for every human being. That's a lot. Okay. Now, if you take, they have power and strength. They can lift so much. They live, protect themselves. They're farmers. Socially, they together, they get along. But if you take the weight, I thought this was interesting. So if they take the weight of every person on earth and we put it all together, 1 pound, all the people on the earth, and then you take all the ants on the earth and pile them up, guess what? They're equal. There's that many ants in the world. And you know, it's funny because when I was driving to Ohio, I was looking at the mountains and thinking how we talked about how, you know, the prophet sees the tops of the mountains and how the ways between. And I was thinking about ants. I thought, gee, I wonder how many ants are in those mountains and in the many, many, many ants. So the Bible's telling us here to have wisdom. We need to live and think like the ant. So that means we have power and strength. We can carry more than a weight than we can imagine. We can take care of ourselves. We don't have to depend on another person telling us what to do. You know, interesting, I thought. We've talked about most of them. The red fire ant, I don't see them here. Like here in Maryland or in Pennsylvania, Ohio, I can go out and I can walk in the yard, no shoes. I can lay down, no worries. But in Florida, I can't do that because there's the fire ants and their bites hurt. I know, I've had a few. Okay. I think we talked about that, but here we see, look how much he's carrying. You know, they carry more than themselves, you know. That's the fire ant. And they sting and they hurt. Okay, so how long will you just lie there lazy? You let another person do the work for you. We are the same, all are the same. We need to work, not just be lazy. Because when you're lazy and you don't work, then you expect others to pay for you and you become poor. Okay. The bad, wicked person does various things. You know, you ever see the one that comes up and gives you that wink of the eye? You know, they try to get you. Okay. Tricky, mischievous, all right? And they also, but this one thing that's important here is they sow trouble among the brethren. That means even in the church, they try to start trouble. They get people to argue, complain, trouble. Okay. And that makes trouble in the church. And then things get broken and they can't be fixed. All right, get broken and they can't be fixed. There's 6 things that the Lord hates. Okay, and then it says there's also a 7. So he hates eyes that just roam around, a lying tongue. He hates people who kill or bring blood, hurt people. He hates a heart that is mischievous and schemes things. When your feet hurry to the bad things, he hates that. And then the last one is when you're a false witness. You lie against another person, false witness, you tell about them. And then the last one is that one who stirs up all the trouble in the brothers. Okay, those 7 things he hates. So my son, keep your father's commandments. Don't forget the things that your mother taught you. Okay, keep them in your heart and around your neck. In other words, you know, in those days, they used to wear something around their neck that held all their prayers in this little box. You know, and he says here, you know, keep these things and keep them around your neck and in your heart. All these things for wisdom. So when you walk, wisdom will guide you. When you sleep, wisdom will look over you. When you wake up, wisdom will talk to you. So good advice is the beacon, the light. Moral discipline is the life path. And I had here 3 different translations so you can see that it's talking about a lamp, the light, and then it talks about the teaching is light, and so different things against the instruction, against your path, okay? So this verse is important. Good advice is the beacon, is the light, it's a lamp. The commandments that he gives are lamps, lights to our path. So to keep you from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of the strange woman, stay away. Don't desire in your heart for that woman's beauty or her eyes. It just pulls you down. Your heart is the important thing. What's in your heart? Stop flirting with sin. Can you walk on fire and not get burned? Can you have fire on your body and not burn? I remember when Leslie passed away, and in that fire, and then when we went back, all the clothes, everything in the house, you could smell the fire. And that's the way it is with our sin. You will get burned. And then literally in the last days, you will burn. Okay.
Morning.
Maybe you hate the thief. And maybe he steals because he's hungry or his family's hungry. All right. We know that happens. However, that doesn't excuse it, because if he gets caught and if you find out, then he needs to pay it back. And sometimes he ends up having to give up everything. It doesn't make it right to steal, but at least we understand the reasoning, okay? But we still have to pay for whatever wrongs that we do. That who has the adultery with this woman? He destroys his own soul. And his shame will never be erased, you know. So if you do these wrongs, you will always have shame. Sometimes you'll get sickness, you'll be turned away from, but the shame will never leave. You get hurt, even die, and you lose your honor, all is lost. Okay, wiped away. Because jealousy is the anger of a man, the rage of a man, and it won't keep him from the day of vengeance. Now, remember, we talked about that day of vengeance in Revelation. So if they're jealous, if they do these things and don't ask God for forgiveness, don't accept Jesus, then they have to pay in that day of trouble in the end. He can't have any ransom. You know, sometimes, you know, we have a ransom if a person is kept. but it will not happen here. If he's done these things and not accepted Christ, there's no help. And maybe he will give gifts, various things. It still doesn't matter. He's not going to get through there. Okay, so that's 6. And I think our time is close. Let's do one more. Let's do chapter 6, because I think it's a shorter one. And then we'll start with 7 next week. Okay. Oh, we just did 6, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, let's do 7. Okay, again, it's warning against all sin of adultery. Again, Solomon and his son. The Bible is our defense. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay, again, son, keep my words, my commandments inside you. Did we do this? No, okay. So keep my teaching like the apple of your eye. Now, when I was a missionary in Jamaica, we used to sing a song, keep me, Jesus, as the apple of your eye. Keep me under the shadow of your wing. Anyway, so keep me, and that's where this comes from. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye, as a special thing. You want to keep loyal and kindness. Don't let them leave you. Keep that always be that way. Keep it around your neck to remind you. Write it deep in your heart, and you will find favor with God and people, and you will have a good reputation. So the more that you are kind and loyal, you will be honored. Wisdom and insight protect you from that strange woman, that bad woman. Listening to that flattery, flirtation of the woman. Okay, keep you from. So here again, he's still telling that son. He knows how often a man can be caught by the woman, and he's trying to keep his son protected. She can destroy you. She'll sit in the window of her house, she'll sit at the window, and she'll watch for a man to walk by. And the simple ones, the young ones, they don't know a lot. They don't have the understanding. And she will go grab them and bring them in. And when they come near her house, they met the woman. She was dressed like a harlot. And you know, nowadays, sometimes you can't tell the difference. It used to be you would be driving down the street and you say, oh, that's a harlot because of how they're dressed. But now a lot of people dress the same. But that woman is, she's loud, she's stubborn, and she doesn't stay home. She walks around on the streets just seeking. Okay. She's foolish, but she's also smart. She's ignorant, but she doesn't know how much. Okay. She sits in that doorway, looks over, just waiting. She says, come home with me. Come home with me. Okay. It's like she's stealing the refreshing water. Okay. She becomes food, a taste that they like. But men don't understand that the man that went in before is now in the grave, dies because of his sin. All right. So she wants to meet them face to face. It says wisdom comes to meet you, to seek your face, to find you. But then the woman says, come in and meet me here. I have prepared my bed. I've covered it with nice decorations, and things. Smells good, all this. She fixes her bed. Then she says, my husband's not home. Or else it's, different translations have the good man is not home, or the manager is not home. In other words, whoever she lives with is not home. So it's okay, come on in. And then she says that he took money with him, and I know the day he's coming back. It's okay, it's safe. Come on to my house. Okay. She persuades him. She leads him with her flattery lips, and she gets him in. He follows her. It says, like an ox goes to be killed. He just follows. That cow will just follow right to be killed. The same way as the man that goes with the woman. It says it's like a fool just walking right into the noose. Okay, this is how to escape. He says, listen to the words. Don't let your heart go in the wrong way. Many have been hurt, and many strong women have been slain. Thy house is the way to hell. So if you go to that woman's house, it's the way to hell. Going into the chambers of death. And that's 7. Okay. Okay, any questions on chapter 7? Okay. Wow, y'all still with me? We will start with chapter 8 next week in our talking. But you see, a lot of this was telling his son about all the sexual craziness that's out there, and that we need to pay attention to what he's saying to the son, because we would maybe be the woman, or it also applies to us as men will try to capture us the same way. Okay. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. All right. Oh, no. You know what? Okay, let me see. Hold on.